Disaster Empire. This is the podcast where we talk to thought leaders and innovators in resilience. And this has been a long time coming, but I was finally able to corner Ann Pickren at a conference recently, and we agreed that we were going to sit down and chat. So Ann, I am so excited to have you here. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to talk to Ann about OnSolve and resilience. So Ann, welcome.
Oh, Ashley, thank you very much for having me here today. And I'm excited to do this. And obviously, I'll talk about OnSolve all day long. But more importantly, this whole topic of resilience, I'm sure is something that we could spend quite a bit of time on also. So let's get going.
All right, we're going to dive right in. So, hey, recently you gave a talk on navigating resilience in a unified platform. Can you share just a brief overview of what that was about for the audience, for those who didn't get a chance to sit in?
Well, absolutely. And see if I can compress that into a few key points. One of the things I think I've seen in the 20 plus years, actually, I should say 30 plus years that I've been in this industry, is there is this shifting and changing landscape. And I've always come at what we do in this profession from both a consulting and a technology platform. What can we do to make our life better? And that topic that I recently covered about navigating resilience through a unified platform really is a direct result of seeing things that are just disparate and different tool sets that our professionals use, whether it's a plan development tool or a risk analysis, situational awareness tool, or a crisis management tool, again and again, automated notification or whatever. And that what I saw a lot was a swivel chair. You're over here in one application to do one thing. You're borrowing a resource from someone else and another solution you have to try to piece together the picture of what you as a resilience professional need to be able to protect and help your organization. And that topic was really about the value of seeing all of these things come together in a holistic way to support overall operational or organizational resilience across an organization in general, and seeing how those tools play hand in hand to lead to better outcomes. Because here at OnSolve, one of the things that we think is so important that we do is help organizations navigate this uncertainty and complexity of risk. And through that unified platform, you have an opportunity to see more data in a more holistic way.
Thank you for that. And, I love that idea of a unified pane of glass, right? Because we all know it's challenging to navigate one system sometimes or to get our partners to do that. So really anything we can do to get and pull things together into that single view, really appreciate that you guys are thinking about that. So I wanted to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, what does resilience mean to you? Because as we know, it's the hot topic, it's the buzzword out there right now, and everyone has a little bit of a different spin on it, I think.
Absolutely a different spin. And I know sometimes when I start talking about someone wants to change my words for me, and I'll use organizational resilience, and they're like, no, we want to talk about operational resilience. And I'm like, all right, it all boils down to a culture of how you and your company and organization feel that you are going to be able to be flexible and respond to the events that are handed to you. And to me, actually, it does go as broad as organizational resilience and that culture you need across how you operate day in and day out as an organization, how you make decisions, how you set strategies. And it's not just risk management. It's not simply operational risk, but there are many, many other risks that come into play when I think about it. So when I say the word resilience, I want to make sure people understand that you have to be agile, that how you make a decision and a strategy and how you implement is how you make yourself a resilient organization.
Thank you for that. I love that focus on organizational resilience as well, because I think sometimes it's getting a little bit missed, right, in the conversation around operational resilience, which all aspects are important as part of the whole. So thank you for kind of teasing that out and understanding sometimes it's a slightly different conversation if people want to
focus
on one or the other.
It very much, right. It very much is. And as we were saying, you have an opportunity in my role and yours as well to talk to so many different people who take different views of it. And it's going to be a culture change and a culture shift for many people. But I was recently, just last week, talking with someone who is presented with a concept of, I have an organization that has so much need and risk, and it's almost like, where do I start? And I really think it starts with that culture shift and the kind of the changing landscape we're all going through about thinking about it differently and having your executives understand what that means. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into some of the things that we've uncovered when we've recently done some surveys between various CEOs in the industry.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to that and diving in a little bit deeper. But, exactly right. I mean, even as we're talking about it, in the profession and have some different views on it, when you're talking to executives and senior managers, they also can have different flavors of what that means. But I think I'm excited to hear that they're even using terms like business continuity and talking more about risk and hearing resilience and what that means to them. And I think that's, like you said, that's culture, right?
Right.
Half of the step is really understanding what it means to an organization and what it means to leadership as well, and having that ongoing dialogue. So I love those thoughts. Well, hey, you're the Chief Customer Officer at OnSolve, and that's a great title. And I want to hear, can you share more about what that is so that when folks meet you next time in person, you can have more of a chat?
It's a unique title, number one, and custom built for me, probably by me, actually. Ashley, it goes back. My background for all of my years has been technology and using technology to solve solutions, regardless of what it was. And I actually entered into this world of, I've got to use all the terms, disaster recovery, business continuity, crisis management, critical communications, whatever, through consulting that I was doing around business process reengineering. How do you apply technology to solve solutions and efficiencies and workflows for organizations? So it's kind of an interesting entree that I came into in the early 90s when I took my business process reengineering experience in technology to put it into how do you solve the solutions of business continuity, IT, DR, et cetera, et cetera. And through those years, I fortunately worked for some great companies, Comdisco, SunGard, Mirror 3, OnSolve, all of those. And I had an opportunity to meet some of the most wonderful, talented, and strategic thinking individuals. And as we began to solve solutions, one of the things became my passion is working with customers and helping them understand how technology can make life better for them. So the role of Chief Customer Officer here at OnSolve is one that says anything that we can do to help our customers leverage technology, build their program better, become more professional advancement for them as an individual is something I love to focus on. So a lot of times, right, we deliver a wonderful SaaS platform for critical event management. But a lot of times my conversations are with customers on their challenges about gaining executive adoption. And how do they run their program in such a way? What do we know? What are we seeing? And what does that mean? So it allows me in the title of Chief Customer Officer to touch a customer through their early adoption of a platform, the continued adoption, the advancement of their program from maybe a regional program into a global rollout, and then also their challenges, and take that back and help them solution solve with the technology that we've built to help them better their program. So the chief customer officer loves to talk to people and help solve problems and look at ways that we at OnSolve can continue to grow what we offer to assist as well.
It's definitely a unique role in the industry. And I really like that you're laser focused on assisting individual customers or potential customers and thinking through what their issues are and definitely how to provide a solution and help problem solve for that. So thank you for sharing, and definitely we'll be watching your journey as we go forward. Well, hey, let's talk about OnSolve now, and tell me about the service that you provide and what makes what OnSolve provides maybe unique from, other similar services out there in the marketplace.
It is so good that you would ask me that. It'll give me a chance to brag a little bit about OnSolve. So first of all, as I said, OnSolve is software as a service, a leading provider in the general category of critical event management. Now, that really can have all kinds of meanings, but the way we adopt it and bring it in is that we want to help organizations, as a result of the technology that we offer, navigate this changing world of risk that's becoming far more complex and helping lead to a better outcome for them. We often talk, and I think we also mentioned it in the, discussion that we were talking about earlier about navigating resilience in a platform, is if we can shorten or if we can shift the detection and the response time left on your chart, you have far less impact as an organization. And I believe that what we offer is a differentiator because of how we apply artificial intelligence to bring speed, reliability, and usability to a platform that's not bogged down with just waiting on manual efforts. It's not going to overflow you with just a mass of information. It's going to bring the right information to you at the right time to help you make a good decision, because we know that flexibility is key. We've all been in the industry for a while, and you can write a plan. You can have, 198 steps you're going to go through. But when that happens, it's the culture of how you've taught yourself to use your technology and how you're going to manage that's so important. And that's the differentiator that OnSolve brings overall in terms of how we help people navigate through when crisis strikes and make it very straightforward and usable in the reliable fashion that you want.
Hey, I want to dive a little bit deeper into what you just said, because you were talking about AI and ChatGPT and all the similar, right? AIs have really exploded onto the scene recently. Can you share a little bit with the audience about how that works within your ecosystem?
Well, we've taken a very prudent approach at how we're using AI. And there's so much about ChatGPT, and we could probably have endless debates on where we want to see the world of AI going long term. But what we do is we utilize our artificial intelligence engine to really correlate events. So we're trying to make sure that when we're identifying something, we're correlating it across validated resources and do it in a timely manner, concise enough so we're bringing facts to you and taking the noise out of the situation. So that's where the speed component comes in, which is we can do it faster than any human analyst who's trying to read an article, interpret words in it, try to figure out where it happened, what time it happened. All of that is the intelligence that goes in to correlate that, to identify it in each unit of information we receive, correlate it back, validate it, and make sure that it is relevant to you. So again, it's not just throwing information in a massive feed to you, but it's saying what's important to you. You set your filters, you identify your people, your places, your things, whatever it is that's important, where your supply chains are located, anything that's something you want to make sure you're aware of developing issues, and bring it to bear specifically custom built for you. And that's how AI does that.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that because I learned something completely new. I had no idea that OnSolve was in that space. And I think that's exciting use of technology, definitely. But we're going to go back to a little bit of the more mundane, maybe, but regular, but exciting because we were talking about risk, really. And one of the key aspects to me of resilience is for all of us to better understand the risks to our organization and what could impact us in terms of what's going on in the world today. So OnSolve did release a report that I thought was really interesting about rapidly evolving physical risk. So can you talk a little bit about that report? And maybe we can link it down below as well, if you guys are good with that, so we can share it more with the audience.
Absolutely.
But I thought it had some, interesting information about really sharing about evolving threats and what those of us who are practitioners, in the field would be interested in tracking and knowing more about.
Yes, excellent. This is a wonderful gift that we're putting back to all of the industry. So we sat back here at OnSolve, and obviously we have a tremendous flow of inbound threats and incidents that we're constantly monitoring day in and day out, year over year over year. And we sat back and we said, what can we do with this? All right. So the events have occurred. They happened the year before or last year, but what can we take from that to add value to what we did? So we started last year taking the 21 data that we had and assessing that, what kind of threats and risks were coming in. And then we refresh it every 6 months. So we're just coming out of a brand new look at 22 versus 21. And what did we see? And this report opens up a lot of very excellent things. So for instance, we're seeing an enormous rise in physical threats year over year. There are 3 key threat areas that jumped out of that report year over year as such a change. First was infrastructure and technology. Here in the U.S. alone, an 800% increase year over year in the number of threats that are occurring. So that was the top one. And second, sadly, also came in around transportation accidents, either, accidents or some also, maybe malice intent on things as well. But those transportation incidents came up over 200% here in the U.S. alone. Wow. And when you look at it globally as well, it was up 200+%. And then we never get to ignore extreme weather, but that was the third of the main increases, right? It's constantly coming at us. So that report laid out 3 key things that where we're seeing physical threats are just amazing. One of the stats that we pulled is that in 22 alone, there were 10 physical threats or incidents every minute that we identified. Imagine that, and how that volume is just, increased so much. But we also took a chance when we were doing this, what we call the global risk report. And we interviewed CEOs because we wanted to get their feeling about what we were seeing there around their idea of resilience and preparedness and what we saw. And it is kind of startling as well when you think that the large majority of the CEOs felt like they weren't prepared to respond. That it was more than half of them said they can't address those biggest challenges of physical threat. And it's going to come at them again and again. So there's this great concern that their current strategies aren't sufficient to support what they need. Now, they might not use the term business continuity or resilience, they're picking at resilience as much more the target of what they're talking about. But seeing what they're facing, they're acknowledging now, and I think it's very key to us to how do we get to that C-suite. So that GRI report, as we refer to it, had a lot of very interesting information in it and is open for anyone to, we'll post the link, but we will also make it available on our website if you'd like to receive a copy of that. And when I was recently presenting at a conference and we had one of our customers up and they were talking about this report, and it was really interesting that their CEO, and this is a major, major company, their CEO had that report in hand before but they had even seen it. Oh, wow. And they were like, he brought it to them and said, we need to be concerned about this. That's what you want. And that was what we were accomplishing with the GRI study.
That's excellent to hear. Yeah. And it's always helpful to start that conversation, right? When your leadership is able to come to you, right? And express what they're interested in. About.
Right. Trying to get that C-suite to the table for those conversations and having a report like that says, look, let's just put our foundation right here. Let's use this as a starting point for a conversation about what we want to do within the culture of our company or your company, et cetera, and how do we get there? And it's a tough road to take. Some of us who've been, quote, business continuity professionals and turn us into resilience experts. And it's a road we ourselves are going to have to navigate to become better at that messaging, that broad view, and how do we approach it?
But I think it's going to be really helpful for the profession going forward because I see such a heightened interest, as you were talking about, from our CEOs and our boards and leadership out there, and really understanding and mitigating risk as much as we can before it happens. And I think everyone acknowledges, crises are not going away, unfortunately, but we're hoping to lessen the impact, right, in this resilience space. So thank you for being a great partner and helping us to move towards it because it's so important.
Well, Ashley, one thing I think is so clear, and I've seen it for many, many years as well, is that we have to remember that we can't focus on one risk that's hitting us at this point in time. Time and again, I see where the challenges come through responding to any incident, and I mean, I've had so many to deal with through the years, that it's the second or third iteration within that event or that incident that is the one that's the gotcha. You didn't think about it and how it plays out. So that dynamic risk component. I'm dealing with something, all of a sudden something else is happening over here, and there's something I didn't expect that's complicated the issue. And that is so very important that we begin to think much differently about the shifting baseline of risk and dynamic risk and resilience across our organization.
Well, the final question that I had for you today was, you really have a unique opportunity to engage with a great deal of customers or, people across the industry and different parts of the industry and the marketplace. And can you share maybe just one example of how you helped a customer OnSolve that really helped them to solve a problem or solution, as we were talking about earlier? I'm
gonna pick one that I think one that I felt was extremely impactful is to be able to step back and help people protect their employees, a basic component of what we do, right? To be able to understand, and I'm going to use the recent the recent tornado, that kind of came through as we see them often in the Southeast. Yeah. And one of the things that I see, and I'm just going to speak very generically, is that people can have a tool to communicate, but they also need to understand where those risks are. And to be able to help an organization say, look, last evening, we had a series of, tornadoes that came through in residential areas around and about in the metro area. And you need to know which of your employees have potentially been impacted by that for the outreach of health and safety. So to be able to target that and to know where those individuals were, right, and to outreach in a very specific manner was extremely helpful. It's a health and safety component, but at the same time, and I'll do one other one, I'll do a supply chain component, which I thought was really interesting and a great story, not to go into good details a lot today, but to be able to provide a better level of service, because we can take the platform capability we have to automate to have a customer notify their customers of critical shipment arrivals and delays in the delivery of very critical supplies, healthcare supplies or pharmaceuticals, et cetera, and to be able to integrate that into their security system. So they're aware of the critical payloads those delivery logistics individuals are carrying in their trucks for delivery, but to be able to automate that to let each of those drop points know that their delivery is expected at a certain time and be able to then adjust that in the day of schedules change and have that be so dynamic in nature. And you don't think about taking a platform like ours to use it for a supply chain or logistics, outbound customer communication. But we did, and it solved a great problem for them. So we do all kinds of things like that, from monitoring coolers and escalations for, hey, you've got a warehouse that needs to be cooled, and one of the monitors is failing to detect proper temperatures. You better escalate in maintenance and those kind of things. So one of the different use cases that I love to get the challenge of what can we do next with it.
And it's great to hear the thinking outside of the box, right? As you said, kind of solutioning and thinking about problems that customers have and how you can help them, right? And I think it really helps to think outside of the box, definitely, in this space.
Always does.
Well, hey, you shared a little bit about your experience earlier, but is there anything else in terms of your background you'd like people to know about?
Exciting and boring things. Well, first of all, I'm one of those lucky people who loves what I do for my job. And I think that for those of you who are fortunate enough to feel that way, it's just a wonderful place to be able to just have a passion for what we do and do it day in and day out. I do have a few hobbies. They don't get exercised very often, but I love to play golf. And I'm a big fan of that, and will one day pick it back up again with more interest. But right now, I think that we look as an organization as one that it's kind of, and we're all in on this and having a great time. But it is a passion for what we do. And as I say, my biggest passion actually is listening to people and helping them solve their problems. So I take time out of my day to guide or mentor people that are new in the profession, trying to build a network, looking to see where their profession takes them. So that's another passion for what I do, which is helping people just kind of, hey, I've got a new job and it's more than I thought. How do I get started in it? Where do I go? And I love to do that too. So it's just always talking, helping people.
Thank you for that. I think we have that in common.
Good.
Definitely a space that I've stepped into more and mentoring. And it's been such a rewarding experience, definitely for me. And I hope she would say the same as well.
Good.
But
I'm sure.
She was on the channel recently, so I think she'd say yes.
I'm sure.
Thank you so much for sharing more about you, because I think it's important for us to get to know each other, right? This industry is big, but it's small at the same time. And so I love the personality, and getting to know all of us a little bit more. besides just in our roles. So I think it's important.
Thank you for doing this very much, because I think it's an outreach that is so important, because, when you mentioned walk the halls at a conference and you're like, I've seen that person before, or, I've heard them speak, but to be able to come off stage, off the formality, and just have a conversation and realize the passion that so many of us have. And if we can kind of build on that energy, and I've always said it's for the betterment of the profession as a whole, how we engage and how we share, because it's not just a book of regulations. It is a lot of art and science to what we do, and have the help across the organization and people to rely on is very important. So you're doing a great mission here, opening up new ideas to people.
Thank you so much. Hey, before we close out today, is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Download the GRI report for sure. And I will say one other thing, Ashley, and thanks for giving me just another minute or two. And that is that I failed to mention one other thing when we were talking about the risk component. And that is, we have a new and exciting thing that we're now offering, and it's called our Risk Insights. And Risk Insights is saying, one more time, I've got this world of data that I've accumulated here at OnSolve. How do I use that to leverage to make better decisions as for our customers? So it's an offering that we're bringing out to help you do things like, I want to do my annual threat assessments on all of my locations. So all I need to do is go back, pop that location in, and you tell me, OnSolve, what has happened there, what kinds of threats have you seen and identified over the last period of time. So easy to complete threat assessments, to help you presume where you might want to build new facilities and see the threats, to be able to prepare more around your strategy for resilience because you're aware of historic threats in certain areas or regions, etc. So we're super excited about all the capabilities that will come with just being able to put a wonderful analytical component on top of all our history of our data and let customers be able to leverage that to make better decisions as well. So thanks. I forgot to mention that earlier. So my marketing team will appreciate that I was able to slide that one in at the last minute.
Thank you for sharing that. And hey, as we wrap up, how can people get a hold of you or network with you and get in touch with OnSolve if they want to learn more?
Follow us on social media. Definitely our blogs and social media. LinkedIn, I'm there. I watch all my LinkedIn requests when they come in, and just I make sure I identify someone as in the industry in general, so that so we can make those connections. So LinkedIn is a great way to get to me. And when we think about just go to the OnSolve.com page and sign up, get a look at our blogs there and track us, and also download information. Another thing we try to do is provide useful information for you and your programs. So that's a great way to get us.
And thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate you taking the time and giving us the opportunity to learn more. And to the audience, thank you so much for being with us today. Please like and subscribe because that helps grow the channel. And I want you all to have a great day. Thank you so much, Anne. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Ashley, and everyone. Thanks.